Do you know what? I was sat today on the way home on the tram thinking, what can I talk about in today's video? And it's really weird when we've got a week off, because there's nothing to talk about directly. And I was going to make a video about the best the best left back options for next season. And I thought, I can't be bothered. What I actually want to talk about is Oleks Zinchenko, because he's dead good. He's absolutely mint, isn't he, Mr. Zinchenko? Because if anything, he's become a bit of a hero of mine. I'll go into that in more detail in a bit. So this essentially is just a Zinchenko appreciation video. But there are lessons we can learn from Zinchenko, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But beforehand, I want to say thank you to RJ O'Neill, my latest patron. RJ, you're an absolute hero. Patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany if you want to get involved. That's your shout out, RJ. You'll be in the credits as well as everyone else who's joined my Patreon. RJ, what does that actually stand for? RJ, let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you very much for getting involved, RJ. But yeah, back to Zinchenko. He's really, really good, isn't he? I absolutely love Zinchenko, and not just because he's a nice guy. And I've got some anecdotes as well about why he's a nice guy, and I'll go into that in a bit. But I'm going to start initially with a bit of context, right? So we all know Zinchenko, and I think it's worth pointing out where he's come from. And he's had a crazy career. He's obviously Ukrainian. He's played for Shakhtar. He's had a pretty crazy career in general. He joined Manchester City about 3 seasons ago now. Well, two and a half seasons ago now. He joined for like 1.6 million from FC Ufa, a team I'd never even heard of. They sounded like something of Pro Evolution Soccer. And basically, he was bought as, essentially, in my opinion, a CFG signing. Pep had nothing to do with the signing of him. He came in that same summer, but he was obviously the kind of player that the club was scouting with a idea of getting him in, getting him out on loan somewhere, upping his value, and maybe selling him for a tidy profit. And he's still here. All that time later, he's still here, and he's a totally different player to the one who joined. Now, what I like about him is that he learns lessons. Now, obviously, initially, he went on loan to PSV. And the PSV loan was a real groundbreaking moment for Zinchenko, because it was here where he learned so much about himself. Now, you think of Zinchenko now, you think of this smiling guy piling into celebrations, happy to be there, living very much in the moment. It's something I admire for personal reasons as well. I'll get onto that in a second. But he wasn't always like that, according to him. He said that in general, he was at PSV where he was struggling to get game time, despite playing well when he did actually get games. And he was back in the reserves at PSV. And it was there where he said he realised he needs to stop sulking and just kind of live in the moment, appreciate how lucky he is, and stop really sulking and putting all these bad faces that Guardiola talks about in training. He said he just wanted to appreciate where he was, focus, and realise the only person in control of his own destiny is himself, and just take every day as it comes. And I absolutely love that mentality. Now, obviously, last season, it looked likely that he wasn't going to play much until all of a sudden he got a chance due to many injuries, and he stepped in at left back, and he did okay. Okay, if we're being honest. He had a few games, didn't really let us down. He showed a lot of kind of composure in games when we had all of the ball, and he was obviously playing in an unfamiliar position because he's a guy who's been brought up as an attacker, essentially, in terms of midfield. So he was naturally a bit weak defensively and probably underplaying that. He was really weak defensively. But in games where we dominated, he was totally fine. And then fast forward to this season, he was about to be sold to Wolves, which would have been for like 16 million. Cheeky wanted him to go. City were happy for him to go. And he was like, that was going to be a massive profit on a player that he signed for like just under 2 million. And he said, no, I fancy my chances. I don't want to go anywhere. And that takes some balls to actually do that. Now, he didn't play for ages, like 2 months or something like that. And Pep basically said his attitude was absolutely phenomenal. Every day he would turn up for training, be brilliant. And now recently, he's kind of got a bit of a run of games. This far into the season, he came out of the cold after a few kind of cup appearances. He came out of the cold and played against Chelsea. He was absolutely fantastic. Played again. Fantastic. And he's played a few games now where he's been brilliant at left back. And he speaks volumes for his character. Now, I want to talk about why I really personally enjoy Zinchenko's character, because on a personal level, I've got a habit of constantly chasing the tomorrow, essentially. Always wanting more and never feeling that sense of accomplishment. And what I love about Zinchenko's thing is that he realises how lucky he is. He works really hard, but I think his ambition is about striving to be the best he can be on that day, every single day. And I really admire his approach to life, how he very much lives in the moment, because I think we can all learn from that. And I think we can all learn from Zinchenko's attitude in terms of if you have self-belief, if you work really hard, if you're patient, if you trust in your own confidence, in your own ability to get somewhere, with the right application and a bit of bravery, you can do anything you want to do. And Zinchenko, for me, is a great example of that. Now, he's won trophies at Manchester City. He's involved in one of the best club sides I've ever seen, personally. He's been trained by the best manager in the world. He's playing alongside likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero, David Silva, absolute legends of the game. And he's doing this because he said no to an easy option. And you've got to admire that, really, because that's the kind of attitude that makes you, well, you endears yourself to the fans. And you can only see how popular Zinchenko has become on social media, even though he's not on there. You've got to look around, you see City fans who really like him. And it's because he's infectiously positive. And that attitude goes a long way to shaping you as a person. And that's what I like about Zinchenko, and that's what I wanted to say that because he deserves the credit, because we don't consider these kind of things enough. And for me, I'm not sure how good he'll get. I don't know yet. There's still some doubts in my mind, but all I can confidently say is that he's living his best life. He's trying, he's definitely learning every single day, and his attitude goes a long way. And he's become this shining example of professionalism. Guardiola is absolutely infused about him in press conferences. He said that he's an absolute fantastic individual to work with. He's so focused. He's so happy. He's so professional with everything he does. And he's a manager's dream. Now, will he be here next season? Possibly, quite possibly. Is he the answer to our left-back problems? Maybe. I don't know. You got to remember last season, Delph looked largely pretty good at left-back. In fact, he was excellent at times. Everyone was saying he's one of the best left-backs in the league. And this season, for whatever reason, his form at left-back massively dropped off a cliff, and he couldn't repeat it again. It could be that Zinchenko's form right now is an anomaly. It's not the general level. He could really struggle next season. It could also be, that he's on a path of development that goes up. Or he could just be in a very positive patch and he could default to a lower level. We don't know yet. So the only way we can confidently say is that he's a left-back solution is over a course of time. And now if he gets that time, I don't know. But all I know at the moment is that he's played his way into Pep Guardiola's good books with good performances. There are still some rough edges. He's still not perfectly fit defensively. But then again, he's only 22. He's only been playing left back for a year. So that's understandable. And he also does maybe a little bit of a pace. So what he could maybe do to counter that is become more Zabaleta-esque. If he becomes more tenacious, he channels that Eastern European spirit and becomes a tough little bastard, then maybe he's got a chance to be a left back. Because you don't have to be the fastest in the world or the biggest. You just got to have the most heart. And there's one thing we can't deny Zinchenko's got is heart. It could also be that Zinchenko simply plateaus to a level that isn't quite good enough for Manchester City. You've got to understand that Guardiola requires incredible things from his fullbacks, and to sustain that level of performance over a season might not be possible for Zinchenko, given that it isn't his natural position. It could be, but it might not be. But even if that doesn't happen, I still think we should be really proud of him, because he is a random player that I don't think was ever meant to be a Manchester City player. I really believe that. I think he was a CFG signing in the way that Moy was, in the way that Unal was, or those kind of players. Yeah, he's done himself proud. He's broken that trend. He's broken that mould, and he's the kind of person that we should be using as an example of what you can become with the right application. He's the kind of person that shows the rest of the CFG group, he shows the rest of the academy teams how important the right attitude is, because it's hugely important. And he really is an example for the rest of the team, despite just being a random 22-year-old kid from the Ukraine who had no chance in hell playing Manchester City a few years ago. You probably thought, what? That would never be me. But look where he is now. He's a story totally worth making the most out of. And sometimes I think you got to just sit back and appreciate exactly how far he's come, because it's an absolutely fantastic story. And for me, it shows exactly how fun it can be to get this gem out of nowhere. I love signing big name players. Who doesn't? Kevin De Bruyne, the likes of Aguero, signing people like that is so exciting. Of course it is. But I still think there's more in it when you sign a gem or you promote a youth player, and when you get someone out the blue that you don't really know much about and they suddenly become a bit of a cult hero at the club. Because I love that, because you feel like you own them. And you don't literally own them, but you know what I mean? You feel like it means a little bit more to you because you've watched their development. You very much see Manchester City be pivotal in their career. You're not just taking someone else's prior prospect, so you get a sense of ownership from him. And even though he was obviously someone else's prospect somewhere else, I think it's very much fair to say that Zinchenko is developing at Manchester City, and given the fact that he's in a squad full of multi-million-pound players, he is an absolute bargain. And sometimes you get more excited in life by those bargain basement finds, don't you? You know, the ones where you go like, oh, I found this shirt for like a £5, and it's dead nice, isn't it? Or you see something somewhere that you've never seen before, it's a one-off. That in life is really satisfying. And Zinchenko to me is an example of that in football terms. He's this guy no one's ever heard of from a team most people hadn't heard of, and he's become very much our own project. And he's also kind of symbolically represented how most of us feel in our lives in terms of scared of the idea of being a small fish in the biggest, most successful, shiny pond in the world. Yet he's really stuck there with his enthusiasm, his determination, and I absolutely love that about him. Also, as a person, he's lovely. I can speak with personal experience. One of my best friends, Paul, who used to be on Blue Horizon, works at Manchester City Football Club, and I'm sure he won't mind me telling this story. He said he's met a lot of the players, obviously, because he's a cameraman at Manchester City, and he said Zinchenko is the kind of guy, and he's done this to him as well, he will come up to you in a supermarket and go, "How you doing, mate?" Like, he consciously makes an effort to go out of his way, because he recognised Paul across the way in Asda near the ground, to say hello to him. That's how nice Zinchenko is. He's like, most footballers will be alright and polite, but most haven't got that time for essentially unimportant people at the club. I mean, I'm not saying Paul's unimportant. He's all right, Paul. He's not bad really. But I'm not saying most footballers will stop out of the way giving who they are. And he actually did. There's also some guy tweeted me saying Zinchenko was in a hotel that he was staying in once, and Zinchenko actually sat and watched the Manchester City game with him. I can't remember it, but someone tweeted me, and if they're watching this video, mate, put your link to that thread in the comments. But Zinchenko watched a game with that guy, and he was genuinely interested about that guy's travelling that he'd just been on. He was asking him questions about New Zealand, where he'd just been, all that kind of stuff. And as they walked back to their hotel rooms, they were both singing Raheem Sterling is top of the league. I love that. It shows what a down-to-earth guy Zinchenko is. And it's just nice in an era of perceived divas, I'm not saying they all are, but in an era where there's a detachment between footballers and the fans. Zinchenko is a great example of someone who's inherently human, inherently flawed as well, but makes the most of what he's been given. And he's just a fantastic success story, and that's why I want to talk about Zinchenko. Do I think he's a long-term solution for Manchester City Football Club? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter, because he symbolises everything that's good with football, in my personal opinion. Perseverance, attitude, hidden gem, and someone who's on a very nicely trodden path of becoming a cult hero if he carries on who he is. Alexander, if you somehow watch this video, somehow find it, I just want to say thank you for being dead inspirational. You're just a footballer, a very rich footballer, I know that, and I know you're probably feeling very grateful as well. But I think you can find important messages in things like this, because he's the kind of person that I actually admire, because he's a good lad, works really hard, and makes the most of what he's got. And if that's not inspiring, what is? Anyway, just a quick video there to talk about Zinchenko, because sometimes these things need to be said. Thank you once again to all the patrons. You were scrolling down over my right shoulder that way, was it? Oh, camera inverse, I can't remember. One of these sides is where it's scrolling down because it flips around. But anyway, those people to the side of me, my patrons who support this channel, thank you very much. Obviously there'll be a preview tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll do a preview video, then there'll be a match reaction on Saturday, and some maybe 5 things learned on Sunday. Loads of content, don't forget. I've been Stephen. This has been me waffling about Zinchenko and the meaning of trying hard for life and all that kind of stuff. Go watch the video I did the other day as well about what was it about transfer targets for the summer. It's good, I promise you. Bye bye.